G'day everyone, Jackson Millan, the Wealth Mentor.
Hello, it's Sal here from Aureus as well. How are you going?
And we are here for another episode of Ask Aureus Anything, our weekly live Q&A.
Yes.
Sal, what episode are we up to, mate?
26.
Big 26.
Yes.
And this is a big episode. We've got plenty of value to deliver your way. So we're very much looking forward to getting into it. Sam does apologise that he is not able to attend, but he's been replaced by Big Sal, and we know Big Sal's going to do a phenomenal job, aren't you, mate?
I wish I had your jacket, eh?
It's a bit cold. Do you want my jacket?
Freezing. Nah, it's okay.
Oh, we'll warm up in here. These questions are going to warm us up. So, a bit of a value add. Today, we're actually going to be offering a new financial year strategy session that's worth $497. Which is going to be for the first 10 people who register. So if you are interested, there is a link in the description of this Q&A. So make sure you jump onto it quickly because we know spots are going to fill up quickly. Sal, we're typically booked out, at least a week in advance?
You should see our calendars. They're chock-a-block.
It's a mess. So in any case, we want to add value to you, book in the times, and we will help you build your roadmap for the financial year. So jump onto it, and we are here to help.
Yes.
So let's get the compliance stuff out of the way.
Yes, so obviously this is everything we say today is of a general nature, so please don't take it about willy-nilly without consulting a professional, someone like us, or anyone else. So just a heads up, general advice only.
Yep. All right. So as always, if this is your first time, if you've got questions, we do prioritize your live questions. So please do post them and we will get onto them. Otherwise, we've had plenty of questions that have come through the week that we will cover off as well. Now, Gary, Sal, would you like to borrow my jacket? Do you want Gary's jacket,
yes,
Sal?
Please. It's actually kind of cold.
All right. Come on, Gary.
Thank
We're
you.
going to have a guest cameo of Gary here. And we're going to do the handover of the jacket.
Thank you.
How cute.
Thank you.
G'day, Gary.
Don't mind me, guys.
Thank you.
Don't mind, Gary.
The works here.
That's all right. Good on you, Gary.
Thanks, wardrobe.
Adding value. Wardrobe check. All right, everyone. So we're going to dive in. If you don't have questions, we're going to go to the ones that we've already got.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with you, Big Sal.
Yes. Question number 1. Everyone tells me I need to get a will. What is involved and how do I get one? Good question. A lot of people ask this, especially young people. Why do I need a will? A lot of us think that we're 10 foot tall and bulletproof, myself included. But the most important thing we have to think of is obviously that if we're going to build our wealth and have mountains of assets and basically stacks of cash on us, the most important thing is making sure that should the worst come to worst, touch wood, that it goes to the right people. A lot of times that we've seen, even now with a couple of clients that we have, we've seen it go the wrong way, where at times it doesn't go to the right people and it ends up in a big mess. So in terms of what's involved, it's pretty simple. There's a couple of instruction sheets. First of all, the ones that you get at the post office, the wills that we get at the post office, a lot of clients have come up to us and said that. Don't follow them. They are basically useless. They are not really worth the paper that it's written on. But it's best to just document all the things that you want to happen on even just a normal piece of paper, and going to an estate planning lawyer and making sure that they can document that out as what's the word I'm trying to think of here, as accurately as possible.
100%. So I think the most important thing, and I know from first-hand experience, as I've spoken a couple of times in our content, I just actually last week finalised my father's estate who passed away last year in February, and it wasn't a sizable estate whatsoever, but there was people that was trying to go for the very small amount of money that was there, and we incurred probably about $70,000 in legal fees. So it just goes to show that money that makes people do very silly things. So it pays to have the right estate planning in place. It's relatively straightforward. If you're just getting started in life, you can get them done pretty cheap. We're actually in the process of working on an initiative where you can actually get a simple will for free. So watch this space. We'll keep you informed, particularly the Wealth Mentor community. We're always looking for new ways to add value to you, and this is hopefully going to be one of them. But in any case, if you do have some wealth, you own some property, you've got some investments, you've got a business, you've got children, and you have things like life insurance and super, it is non-negotiable that you should have at least a basic will. If not, having some other complexities that exist to help you protect your wealth and optimize tax for your beneficiaries if something does happen. It's relatively straightforward. We actually do have an education and instruction sheet. So if you are interested in getting a will and just understanding more about the importance, reach out to us. We can send you the cheat sheet, and hopefully that will help guide you on your journey.
If you guys at least want to make a kickstart, the most easiest thing that you can do to sort out your estate planning at the moment is getting on top of your superannuation.
100%.
There's one thing that's called a binding nomination. Pretty much just go on your superannuation provider's website, type it in, pretty much a 2-page document outlining who you want basically the beneficiary to be in your superannuation. Send it off, and Bob's your uncle. There you go. There's your first estate planning footstep done.
Exactly right. Everyone should have that. And Sal, out of the research that we do on people's super funds, how many people actually have a binding nomination in place?
Less than 5%.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
So here's an action item for you. Call your super fund, ask them if you have a nomination in place. And if you don't, or you're not happy with the person that's there, get them to send you a copy of the binding nomination form. You can get it done for free. Very straightforward.
Exactly.
Cool. All right. So next question. If anyone who's watching has any questions, please feel free to post them. We're here to help. But next question we had here. How do you guys make sure you get along when you're doing business together every single day? Great question, actually. So in the office here, there's 4 of us, 4 blokes.
Sam's not here, so you can say.
Sam's not here. So yeah, it's a little bit less stressful when Sam's not here cracking the whip. But look, we've got 4 guys who all have our personalities and egos that we need to keep in check. But overall, we get along very well. We work together. We try and collaborate. We try and support each other. So far, there haven't been any fists thrown. But hey, we're 9 months in, so
26 weeks in.
26
episodes, 26 weeks.
26 weeks in. Okay, so yeah, it's still early days. I still might punch Sam, so we'll see. What do you reckon, Sal?
Nah, I think except for when Sam punches walls.
Yeah, it's been alleged that Sam may or may not have punched a wall once. I won't confirm nor deny the allegations.
No, I think we all get along fine. Like I mentioned in a couple of episodes, everything here, it's fantastic working here. We relax together. We still get our work done. We go out for lunch together. We hold hands together. We no, we don't hold hands.
That's
as far as we go.
That's another alleged accusation. Look, it's been high pressure, as those of you who've been following us closely might know. We've recently had some changes in our business in terms of our financial services license, which has resulted in a mountain of compliance work and other things that we needed to do. So obviously we're just trying to work through that backlog now.
Yeah, and we're just clearing it up.
Clearing it up, a few sleepless nights, a little bit of stress, but onwards and upwards.
Sweaty drops.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good. All right.
What have we got next? The next question we have here is, I want to upgrade the family home, but I'm not sure if I can afford it. What do I need to know, and what else should I consider? Good question. Jackson, I think you can actually field this one.
Yeah, right. I'll do this. Yep. So we get this very often. I guess for most people, when we speak to them, the first ambition is to get a foot in the door of the property market. Basically, buy an entry-level property, something that might need some work. Instead of getting a house, get a unit or a townhouse. But as human beings, we inevitably get to a point where we want more, and therefore we then strive to the next milestone. So what we typically see is that a lot of people have bought a property, they've built some equity, and then now they're looking to do the next jump. So what we need to consider, and it's a very good question, is around affordability. Particularly a couple of years ago, when it was much easier to lend, I guess, get money from the bank, a lot of people were overextending themselves. They were taking on too much debt. They were doing it on an interest-only arrangement, meaning that when they were on a principal and interest arrangement, they actually couldn't afford it. This is particularly important if you've got dual incomes, and say, for example, your partner goes off on maternity leave and you go down to a single income. We need to understand how all of these things that are going to come up over the next couple of years are going to affect your ability to afford your repayments. Because the last thing we want to have to do is, for all this hard work you've gone through, have to fire sell your property because you can't afford it, have it repossessed from the bank, or be in a position where you're overextending yourself and not actually enjoying the fruits of your labour. So what you need to do firstly is you need to work with a good mortgage broker like our friend Gary over here. Not only does he have nice jackets, but he's also very knowledgeable when it comes to lending. And what someone like Gary would do would define your debt ceiling, which is basically the maximum amount of money that you can borrow right now. Now, what we typically find is that for our clients who are self-employed, we say, okay, this is how much you can borrow now. It may or may not be enough. If it's not enough, then we say, okay, well, your income needs to be this over the next 12 months to put us in a position where you can buy that property that you're looking for. So we're actually able to build a strategy. Once we've got that strategy, then it's a matter of doing a cash flow analysis. It's about doing your budget, your personal profit and loss, understanding how much surplus you've got, and what your cash flow is going to look like post-purchase. And essentially also consider any other types of risk management or plan B considerations that might impact your ability to afford the property, particularly if you are taking on a significant amount of debt. So we help our clients with this stuff every single day. If you are interested in going through this type of exercise, utilize this new financial year strategy session where we'll actually help you start mapping these things out, help you crunch the hard numbers, and hopefully help you kick some goals when it comes to getting into your dream home.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Any questions, guys, please post them in the comment section. It's right there. It's right there. Free to comment. Ask us any questions, of course. But for now, let's just keep things going.
Yep.
I hear the property market is crashing. Is it a good time to be buying property, and what should I consider before investing? Great question. We've seen the Sydney market flatten over the past couple of months. In terms of the property market crashing, there's always a lot of people think that, yeah, the property market's crashing, but property is also the be-alls and end-all. If ever we see a market like this, we have two options here. We have one, we can either look at other areas to buy property, or two, which is something that we never usually see with clients, is looking into alternate assets such as shares or managed funds. A lot of people think that, especially in Australia, property is the be-alls and end-alls, but property too is cyclical and has its ups and downs, similar to shares or any other asset class. What's your input on this?
Yeah, I agree, Sal. I think at the end of the day, the reason why property has done so well in Australia is because it is a very consistent asset. Property, like any other asset class, has its cycles, as Sal said. It goes through peaks and it goes through troughs, typically through growth phase and then through periods of stagnation. We typically don't see property go backwards too far in Australia, typically when we're talking about metropolitan blue chip property, but there's anything can happen. When we're looking at growth assets, we need to be prepared for the fact that because it is a growth asset, there is always a relationship of risk versus return. So ultimately, if you're looking to make a quick buck, if you're making an investment decision where you're trying to essentially make a quick return on investment in a short period of time, it is going to amplify that level of risk. So the first things first is you need to make sure you're buying a property that has the fundamentals that stack up. It's in a good area, it's desirable, there's not too much future supply forecast, there's in a diverse ranges of employment in the local vicinity or in a reasonable distance, there's infrastructure and all of these other types of things there. So that ensures that over the long term, the property is going to have the maximum opportunity to perform. Once you've got that, then if you can afford to buy property, we should be accumulating assets and essentially trying to buy as much property or as much other investments to diversify as we possibly can, and essentially just sit and wait. What we found is that although property does go through these cycles, if we look over the long term, a 10 or 20 or 30 year period, it doesn't really matter. We shouldn't be trying to time the market. There is value, as Sal said, to be looking in other areas. You don't necessarily have to buy in your own backyard. And this is where we've said time and time again, you can get a lot of value from working with a good quality property buyer or property analyst who charges a flat fee for service, who works for you and essentially is on the ground each and every single day researching and reviewing properties that provide you with the maximum opportunity for growth. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, make sure you check out, I think it's podcast number 3 with Will Hosking from PMC Property. We work really closely with Will and the team, and they share some valuable insights around what you should be looking for your next property investment. So hopefully that's of value to you.
Well answered.
Try my best, Sal. Try my best.
As always.
All right.
We'll keep the ball rolling.
Yep.
Here's a good one, because I just finished my studies. How much study do you need in order to be a financial advisor? Great question, because a lot of financial advisors today don't even know. It sounds really bad, but to put it simply, the financial advisor space, of course, with things like the Royal Commission, they're trying to beef up their education requirements to make sure that there are specialists in the financial advisory field, basically. So we've seen a big shift going from advisors basically only need diplomas to now full-blown university qualified bachelor's degrees. I know Jackson as an example, who has just done his MBA and is unfortunately, I'm not sure, it
Doesn't count.
it doesn't count.
Doesn't
So
count.
Jackson has to go study another bachelor's degrees. It's all about study here with financial advisory at the moment. Really beefing it up, which obviously is nothing but good.
It's for the best, mate. I think when I first got started, I actually did my diploma at TAFE. I wanted to take the long route. In actual fact, when I first started over a decade ago, you could get what was referred to as your Diploma of Financial Planning or your RG146 in 3 days. Meaning that after those 3 days, you could essentially be legally in a position to provide financial advice. Now, even at the time, although there was that kind of fast-tracked study route, I didn't feel like I had permission after only 3 days of training to be able to go out into the world and give advice. So I did a 1-year diploma at kind of night study at TAFE. And then after that time, I then got essentially an internship and a traineeship as an advisor, and then kind of worked my way up from there. But what we've seen is that a lot of advisors have taken that really quick route and have gone into an employment situation where they don't really know right from wrong. They've been taught a particular way. They've been kind of brought up in a sales culture that's really around kind of flogging product and getting commissions. And this has burnt a lot of Australians, which is really, really unfortunate. But the good news is, although the government doesn't do and act on these things very quickly, they are revolutionising this and trying to improve it. So therefore, we believe that there's going to be a significant exodus of these kind of cowboy advisors from the industry, which can only be good for the everyday consumer. So it is important that if you are looking for advice, do ask your advisor or the person you're speaking to of what their qualifications are and also their level of experience. If you're interested in this as well, it's chapter 13 of my book. I have a checklist that you can actually take to an advisor and grill them with questions so you can actually work out if they're any good.
Lovely for an introduction.
Yeah.
Always good to see. Guys,
you got to turn the tables.
Guys, please post your questions. We know you're out there, guys. See some questions. Alex Maniti, I can see you out there. Rog, ask your questions, guys. We're open ears here.
Alex Maniti, if you're interested in talking about houses, we can talk about houses.
Anything landscaping, anything like that? Please post.
I don't know much about landscaping. How about you, Sal?
Yeah, nah.
You got a bit of a green thumb, Sal?
Nah, I don't, unfortunately.
No, me either.
That's why I work in front of a computer, not on the land.
Exactly right.
All right, let's keep the ball rolling. Do you guys rehearse your videos before you create your content, or do you just wing it? Put bluntly, I just wing it.
Yeah, I wing it. I remember, funnily enough, a couple of months ago, I stumbled across my first YouTube video that I posted maybe 4 years ago. And I had my phone in one hand, I had my script behind the camera, reading off it, so it looked like I was staring into the camera. And it was literally the worst thing that I've ever seen. I'm even embarrassed talking about it. And I deleted it. I probably shouldn't have. It would have been nice to look back on it, but it's too late now. I was so embarrassed I deleted it. So what I found is that when you're trying to rehearse something, if you're trying to have a script that you're reading off, it just seems forced and fake. So it's better just to wing it, be natural. If you make mistakes, you make mistakes.
Yeah, I remember we can go back here. Back in high school when I used to read off a palm card. We're going all the way up to Aureus days. My first, when Jackson and Sam tried to get us to do some content, the first video I did, I probably had about 50 or so repeats. Basically me pausing and stuffing up and having to stop the video and start again. Now, I'm not sure if there's clients watching, they probably see my cash flow snapshots. Typically I can bump them out as soon as I say it. So now it's all good. Yeah, we wing it here. Of course, with cash flow videos, we obviously check out what we see first, but yeah, no stopping or starting. It's pure just we go.
Yeah. So for those of you who aren't clients, Sal, as part of our cash flow management and on-track management program, For our clients, Sal records them a screen capture of their cash flow system that we have for them as part of working with us, and gives them like a 3 to 5 minute kind of snapshot of how they've tracked for the month, things have done well, things they haven't, and kind of helping them kind of keep forward momentum and making sure that they're sticking in the path. It's clients can have a lot of great feedback about it, Sal, and it's very valuable, particularly if you're looking to kind of generate surplus to achieve your goals.
Yeah.
So Big Sal here is here.
I'll push you there. I'll push you there.
Yeah, I'll push you. Good stuff. All right. So what do we get next?
What happened to Sal's tips? Are we going to see more of this in the future?
This is good. This is a good segue, Sal. What happened to Sal's tips?
What did happen to Sal's tips?
Right.
I need to do some more. Me and Jackson are actually going to come up with some marketing in the near future. It might not be Sal's tips, but it will be out there. Don't worry.
Yeah.
This moustache face will be out there.
We've got my market updates in the community on a Friday morning. So for those of you who haven't seen my market update last Friday, I winged that. That was phenomenal. So make sure you jump on there and have a look. But there's going to be another one this Friday. And yes, we'll think about some interesting content ideas. If you've got any ideas, make sure you comment and let us know what you think and what you'd like us to be doing.
Yeah. We won a Facebook campaign as well. I think the second best answer there was Sal in a fancy dress.
I think that was championed by our friend Shane Black. Thank you, Shane Black.
No fancy dresses.
No fancy dress here at Aureus. All right, good stuff. What do we got here? So what was the next one?
I want to minimize my tax. What can I do legally to achieve this?
That's a very good point. I like that. We do get some calls every once in a while from some shady characters that want us to help them dodgy up their tax situation to avoid the tax man. This is frowned upon in many parts of the world, especially in our office. The thing is, back in the day, back in maybe Crocodile Dundee's day, hey, he didn't even get away with it.
No, he got
Paul
done.
Hogan got done. So even back in the 80s, you still get caught for tax fraud. But even now, with technology, the ATO have implemented what's called benchmarking. And what it basically does is it's an algorithm that compares you to people who are like you, and any, variances in terms of how much tax you pay based on how much income you earn, where you live, and all of these other types of characteristics flags you for audit. Previously, an actual auditor, a human being, had to review your financials and your situation in order to see if there's any discrepancies, which of course is very time consuming.
22 million Australians.
Yep, and I guarantee you there's not 22 million auditors. Otherwise we're all secretly auditors. Inception. So these days we've got a machine that's constantly checking up on you. If you fall outside of the benchmark, you get flagged for audit. So what this basically means is there's a higher likelihood of you falling into trouble with the ATO if you don't do things correctly. So very simply, if you are a PAYG, there is two ways for you to minimize tax. There is negative gearing through having an investment property. Be mindful that negative gearing means you are losing money. So this basically means that you are paying out $1 and the government is giving you 30 cents back, basically because they feel sorry for you. Be mindful that if Labor gets in, that's likely going to get scrapped. So the second way is to contribute money to your superannuation as a pre-tax contribution and claim a tax deduction on it. This basically, depending on your tax rate, your super fund does pay 15% on that money going in. So if you're in a 45 cents tax bracket, there's a 30% differential. So those are really the two key ways. Other ways all result and require you to spend money to make deductions. So it's very similar to the negative gearing scenario, although the benefit of having negative gearing is that you also own a property that's hopefully appreciating in value. All other deductions require you to spend money. So unless you are requiring the expense, unless you need that new tool belt, whether you need that ute that you're going to put on a lease, whether you need that fit out for your business or whatever it may be, don't spend it just to get a tax deduction. The tax deduction is just a way of the government essentially giving you some money back for spending the cash.
Yeah. An interesting case, actually, we've had a couple of clients. We actually have had a couple of clients come in this week, and I know it's not your favorable conversation. Talk about crypto as well and tax, given that crypto was such a big thing, and now we have the upcoming tax season coming in. Crypto is now taxably assessed. So there is no hiding from crypto as well. That will still hit the benchmarking rules, and you will get taxed.
Yeah. So don't try and hide crypto in your Cayman Islands account.
Nah.
The ATO is going to fight it. So it's all right. If you make money, you pay tax. Tax is a consequence of making money. So you just got to do what you got to do.
Definitely.
All right, Sal, next one.
I hear you guys talking about the importance of future planning, but I don't know how to crunch the numbers. How do I do this? Great question. The key thing that we have to think of with future planning is obviously setting our targets. Setting our targets such as, if we don't write them down, where are we going basically? Things like purchasing a home. I did one for a client today where they were looking to purchase their home and they wanted to know how long it would take them to get there. Okay, so we had the home there. You asked them how much it was. They stated how much it was. Then it's about reverse engineering or how much income they need to get there to within that certain time frame. It's pretty simple. It's basic maths. By having that stated goal there and then reverse engineering the plan to get there, it's pretty simple.
Yeah. So how we broke that down in a bit more detail. We said that the property was going to be worth, what was it, 800 or 850?
1.1.
1.1.
1.1.
Okay. So 1.1 million. So we say, okay, well, what is the minimum amount of money that we need to have available to buy that property? Assuming we don't want to have to pay for lender's mortgage insurance, we need to have a 20% deposit plus stamp duty, which is about 4%. So about 24% of the value of the property. If we do want to pay lender's mortgage insurance, it's a 10% deposit plus stamp duty, so 14%. So once we work that out, then we say, okay, that's a dollar figure we need to save. So let's break that down based on their surplus. Let's say they can save $3,000 a month. And then whatever the deposit number is, divide that by 3,000. That's basically your plan. And then, of course, depending on what we're going to invest it in the meantime, we also add in a bit of interest. So we can crunch these numbers. We've got software to do it. Sal doesn't sit there with his calculator all day, spinning his propeller hat. He chucks it all into software and essentially it spits out the numbers. So once again, this is all about defining the destination or destinations because there can be multiple milestones. Then working out where you are right now and what means you have available to work with, and then utilizing those means in order to get you on the right track for what you want.
And sticking the course.
And then stick the course. So that's what we're here for. So for those of you who are interested in this kind of stuff, make use of the new financial year strategy session. Book in a time with myself or Big Sal. We'll kind of do a deep dive into your current situation and we'll help you start crunching the numbers and it's going to be immensely valuable. So at least then you can actually start taking action knowing exactly where it's going to get you. Cool? All right. So
we've seen a couple new people join in.
G'day, Brent and Julian. Thanks for joining us. Guys, if you've got any questions, please post them. No holds barred. You can ask us anything you like. So next one. I am getting closer to retirement and I want to get out of my business. What should I do? So this is an interesting question because there's so many different ways we can go about this, but there is essentially three key options that you've got. You can look to position your business for sale. You can look at phasing yourself out of your business so it can provide you with a passive income and essentially run itself, or you can just wind it up. Now, in order for us to work out which of those three options are actually available, because they're not technically available for all people, we need to understand what type of business we're in. Are you in a cash flow business or are you in a growth business? Now, although there's no kind of specific rule around which one actually has value or not, typically speaking, when we're not building a growth business that has an actual asset which can be sold. So for example, if you have a real estate business that has a rental role, if you have an accounting business that has clients that pay you retainers, all of these things are essentially an asset which can be sold and typically sold at a multiple of revenue or recurring revenue or a multiple of EBIT, depending on your industry. If you're in a cash flow business like a cafe, like a construction business, something like this, in a lot of cases, they either get sold for whatever their profit is, 1 times profit, or in some cases, they have no value whatsoever. So you need to work that out as soon as possible so that you can work out your strategy. So once you work that out, I think a lot of business owners believe their business is worth a lot more than what it is. It's that emotional value because they've invested a lot of time into it, right, Sal?
Yeah, definitely.
So we need to firstly swallow our pride, get to a point where we know what our strategy is to our exit plan, and then start executing on it. So if we are trying to sell it, we want to maximize the profits, optimize our bottom line, and ensure that the business looks as favorable as possible. And of course, the business is in a position where it can run without us. If you are looking to sell your business, it is more than likely that whoever's buying it from you, particularly if you've been in it for a long time, is going to expect you to hang around for a while to do a handover. Typically, you'll charge a consulting fee or something like that. If you want trying to essentially phase yourself out of the business, it is a very similar strategy. The whole idea is about optimizing your systems, your processes, phasing yourself out of the day-to-day, removing that key person risk, and bringing the right people in who can carry the torch for you. It might also work out to the person you brought in that you can sell to them later on down the track, and that could potentially be an option. If you are a business that you are a sole trader, you are the business, it is very likely that you're just going to have to wind it up. Both of those two other strategies take a long time. And if you are approaching retirement, you're getting ready to wind things up, it is in many cases unlikely that you're going to be willing or able to get it into a position where it's actually going to be worth your time to get it ready for sale or to put it into a position where it can run itself. So you just need to know at what stage you're in. All of those things, there's no right or wrong with any of them. This is ultimately about maximizing your wealth prior to retirement. So what's more important, coming back to that previous question, Sal, it's about mapping out the plan of what you're trying to achieve.
Pretty
right?
much.
So this is about building your own personal roadmap and getting clear on what role your business plays in your overall wealth journey and your retirement plan.
At a specialist level, for growth businesses, there are opportunities out there to contribute to super as well. That's a bit more in depth of the conversation. Obviously, if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to anyone of us here.
There's some fantastic small business tax concessions in Australia until Labor destroys them. So make use of them while you can.
Cool.
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions here, Sal.
Yeah,
from Julian.
Julian, best tips for a millennial investor, i.e. someone with not much money yet, and how can they start? And also the mentality they will need to develop or have a great life later on. Great questions. I think the first thing that we should consider with millennial investors, and I think a lot of times when millennial investors do tend to fall backwards, is having the foundations in place first of all. I was guilty of this when I was younger as well. I basically lived paycheck to paycheck and without any consideration for the amounts of money that I was spending at the Ivanhoe Hotel in Manly. But in all seriousness, it's all about having those foundations set up correctly first of all. So having a budget in place. And once we have a budget in place, identifying, all right, how much is there of a surplus that we have from our normal expenses? There goes your no money solution. Pretty much a lot of the time we find with a lot of our clients, no matter even if they're millennial or even if they're 40, 50 years old, that the reason for having no money in the bank or having very little money is because they haven't allocated themselves how much money they expect to spend. They're basically going out at a free win, which is dangerous. Once you have that surplus identified, and that pretty much ticks off your no money thing, there are options out there, even for small time investors, to get their hands in the market. As an example, there are a lot of cool micro investing apps that you can even bet as little as 50 cents. So that's as a start. What are your suggestions, Jackson?
Yeah, I agree, Sal. I personally use some of those micro investing apps myself because it just makes it very, very easy with getting money into the market. The whole thing, Julian, is I think a lot of millennials want everything today. They're not prepared to defer gratification for anything. And it's because we're in an age of technology where they don't have to defer gratification. They jump online and they can order something. They go onto Facebook and they send their friend a message. They can call someone. So there's no real deference of gratification whatsoever.
I saw, we actually saw, and I sent this to Jackson, Bankwest actually have a credit card that is a ring now. So you spend money and you tap your ring.
It's phenomenal.
It's too easy to spend money nowadays.
Crazy. So I think it's very important that, as Sal said, we get the foundations right. And we should be taking a diversified approach, ideally using index funds that give us exposure across the whole world to build that solid base and essentially get into the habit of having forced savings in pursuit of a bigger goal. I think one of the key things following on to your second question, mate, is around the mentality they need to develop to have a great life later on, is they need to be willing to make the time to ask themselves what they really want, and more importantly, why do they want it? So do they want to have their own home? Do they want to have enough money to launch a startup? Do they want to go on a Kentucky tour and fist pump until 4 o'clock in the morning? Whatever it may be, there's no right or wrong, but it's about defining the destination, reverse engineering that into a plan, and then sticking the course. And it's about proving to yourself and being able to create the mindset that you actually achieve or you stick to the goals that you set out for yourself. I think far too often millennials get too ambitious. They overestimate what they can achieve in a year. They underestimate what they can do in 10, and they ultimately set out to fail. And when they fail, they're subconsciously conditioning themselves to continue to fail. So it's about setting goals that are achievable, ticking them off the list, proving you can do it, and then continuing to ramp it up over time. So hopefully that answers your questions, mate.
Good. What do we got next here? This is actually a good one. We have a client coming up with this one in a couple of weeks. I'm paid commissions and my income fluctuates a lot month to month. What can I do to smooth this out? Great question. I think the key thing that comes down in terms of basically volatility in your income is having, again, going back to Julian's question, having the right structure in place. By basically having our business account set up, and from our business account able to draw a fixed income to ourselves to fund our lifestyles, but obviously having a big enough float to fund that business account to basically keep us going. It's not necessarily about living a roller coaster ride, living paycheck to paycheck. It's more so about having that sustainability there with our structure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who have variable incomes, whether they be business owners or salespeople on commissions, that they get a big paycheck and they feel like they're rich because they feel like that's what they're going to be getting each and every single month, and it's not the case. So what we need to do is we need to work out what are the trends, what are the peaks and troughs associated with their income, and they can do a couple of things. And Julian, you're 100% right. You can go out and sell more. And I think a lot of these people fall into this trap because they know that they're good at what they do. They spend, they just go out and sell more. And they're constantly relying on their ability to go and continue to sell, but they're not really addressing the problem as it is. So what we need to do is we need to firstly come back to establishing our base cash flow. It's essentially what is the minimum amount that we require each and every single month in order to live a comfortable lifestyle. So let's say, for argument's sake, your living expenses are $5,000 a month. And essentially your commissions some months might be 5,000, some months might be 15, some months might be 3, but we worked out we need 5 every month. So firstly, what we want to try and do is we want to create a buffer that allows us to ensure that we have, say, for example, 3 to 6 months of savings or an emergency fund there that we can draw down each and every single month. What this automatically does is this eliminates the volatility because we always know we have a pool of funds to draw from irrespective of what our income is. Then what we want to do is we want to say, for every dollar that we earn over that 5,000, how much of that actually goes to savings? Meaning that irrespective of if we earn 5,000 or 3,000 or 15,000, we know exactly how much needs to be taken off the table, leaving us with a certain amount left for us to live our life. What a lot of people tend to fall into the trap of is that they spend first and they save later. You need to pay yourself first, meaning that you need to put money away first and live with what's left. And then once you start doing this, you always live to the means that you have available. So therefore, it allows us to create consistency. It allows us to create, I guess, a frame of abundance, meaning that we're not constantly looking at this from a frame of scarcity, saying, oh shit, I need to make commissions next month, otherwise I'm not going to be able to eat. It's about saying, okay, I want to achieve these goals, so therefore I can go out and sell more, like Julian said, but I know that when I do sell more, I'm going to have enough to live my life, but I'm also going to have enough to achieve my goals.
I hope that answers the question there.
Yeah,
definitely does. Next question we have, and obviously guys, keep posting your questions. Thank you very much for the questions, Julian. Anyone else out there, please post your questions. But the next one we have here is, I really don't see the need for insurance. How many of your clients actually claim with things like income protection?
Very good question.
Yeah, a lot of clients do.
Yeah, look, I think what I find traditionally is that most people feel that insurance is a necessary evil. It's something that they just pay out the premiums and all they care about is how much the insurance company's taking out of their bank account every single month. People don't put enough emphasis on the peace of mind they're buying for that premium. And it's ultimately because most people don't play an active role when it comes to selecting their levels of cover and working out what insurance they actually need and what is their insurance actually allowing them to achieve if in the event of the unforeseen. So I've gone through over the past over a decade, countless claims of people who have had insurance and they've been completely healthy, and just out of the blue something has happened.
What's been the biggest policy claims?
Biggest claim I had was a trauma insurance or a critical illness policy that paid out $500,000 to a lady who only had the policy in place for 4 months. She took out the policy because she was going overseas and wanted just to have some protection. I educated her around the benefits of critical illness, which covers things like cancers and heart attacks. And she thought that that was a value, given that it covered things like melanoma, and she was going to Bali. And she took out all the policy. She went away. She come back. She was all fine. She called me about 4 months after, and she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So it was an unfortunate situation, but she had the insurance. It paid out $500,000 tax-free, and it allowed her to retire early. She recovered perfectly fine and allowed her to essentially live the rest of her life very, very comfortably.
Mm.
The biggest life insurance payment I had that was paid out was $1.4 million. So these things are life-changing if you've got the right insurance in place, and this all comes down to understanding your needs and wants. Sal, what do we typically take our clients through when we talk to them about their risk management strategy?
Typically, we take them through what are the things they obviously want to look out for when they're looking at the overall portfolio, their overall life, basically. So things like there's questions we ask them. Let's say, touch wood, let's put you in. The basic question goes, let's put you in the situation where, in the case of life insurance, the worst was to happen. What would you like to see happen to the family home, as an example? Typically, clients with a double income who obviously rely on the second income to fund the mortgage, it obviously dings a light bulb. And these are things that we do consider as well. And these are things that life insurance and things like this do cover. So although it is a necessary evil, it can help in many ways. I actually use this example heaps of times. I even used it in my last Ask Aureus Anything with Sam. A lot of people go about funding their car insurance willy-nilly and pay it diligently and on time, yet nobody can consider, let's say in the case of having a $20,000 car, but nobody can consider life insurance in the case of an $800,000 property. So
or their income, for that matter, Sal.
Yeah.
Our biggest asset for most of the time while we're accumulating wealth is our ability to earn an income. And there's so few people who actually have an income protection policy that ensures their ability to go to work.
Yeah.
So it's scary.
Yeah. And when you ask the question to some people after, let's say, 2 months and you're unable to work, what happens next? A lot of people don't even know how to answer the question.
No.
So it's a scary thought. And you can imagine people like this who even have mortgages and family and the list goes on. Or you can imagine insurance is unnecessary. It's a
100%.
must.
Yep. All right. So next one, Sal.
I'm scared of investing. What should I do? That's actually, we have a lot of clients. I believe a couple of TV interviews that you've gone on as well.
Yeah.
A couple of celebrities have even noticed this. Post the GFC, a lot of people got scared with investing, and a lot of people just stockpiled their money into cash. Typically today, with a low interest rate environment, you can guarantee that you are going nowhere in terms of your cash. I've seen cases where we've had savings accounts go for offer 1.5% interest, 1% interest, and we have a RBA inflation rate at the moment. I believe it's just shy of 2% at the moment. If you have your cash sitting at an interest rate of 1% and inflation sitting at 2%, you are guaranteeing yourself that you are losing 1% per annum on your cash. So if you have cash in the bank, although it's relatively, or it's safe, you're losing pretty much. So you got to weigh up the options here. Although investing does come with its risks, having cash in the bank, there's no growth in it at the moment, especially in today's age.
100%. Yeah, this is about you understanding the relationship of risk versus return. And we spoke about this a lot. It's about getting educated. The reason why you're scared is because you aren't confident and comfortable with the asset. You need to park your fears, and you need to park your emotions and look at it objectively. It's about understanding what is the gap between your current skill set or your current knowledge and where it needs to be for you to be comfortable. Because if you look at any rich list around the world, all of the people on that rich list are shareholders and owners of publicly listed companies and essentially have built their wealth as a result of being business owners through owning shares in these publicly listed companies. So it is a way that has built a lot of people a lot of wealth, but it's because they have understood how they utilize those investments to be able to allow them to achieve that level of wealth. So it's not a matter of just diving in feet first and hoping for the best. It's about understanding how it works before you jump in, starting small and increasing your exposure or your allocation to these investments over time as your tolerance to risk and your experience increases.
Obviously, it's not something to go about willy-nilly going about investing. Obviously, do your readings. There's a lot of great things online, a lot of great tips. In terms of if you want to have a look at shares, as an example, Morningstar is a pretty good website if you want to have a look at a couple of things like base returns and basic information about investing. There's things out there, guys. Rather than just having your money sit there in cash. If you're looking for growth options but are scared, there's obviously there's a plethora of things out there on the internet.
100%. And look, coming back to, we've spoken about it a lot, these diversified index-based investments, that you can buy a diversified index fund that's in line with your risk tolerance, ranging anywhere from having 30% in the share market all the way up to having 100% in the share market, and essentially be able to choose that investment and allow an investment manager to be able to diversify that for you. In many of these funds, there's more than 4,000 underlying investments. You physically couldn't even acquire all of those investments if you tried. So it's a very easy way to get your foot in the door. If these are things that you're interested in, if you want to learn more about investing, feel free to reach out to us, book one of the new financial year strategy sessions, and we're more than happy to spend the time with you, educating you around this stuff and helping you get on your way.
And any questions about investing,
yep,
feel free to post the question.
Yep, hit them up. Now, last question here, Sal. We've got, are points I receive from my credit card spending actually worth it? Short answer is no. What you need to understand is that banks are in business, and I'm not sure if you've looked at their returns and their profits over the last few years, but they're killing it. And they're in the business of making money because they understand your behavior from your spending. And essentially, they know that the odds are against you when it comes to how you use a credit card. So simple maths on a lot of these things is the points are worth in the vicinity of about 1 to 2% of your spending. And with interest rates on most points cards being between 18 and 20%, sometimes more, the odds are stacked against you.
How many points is it for a Qantas flight?
I have absolutely no idea, Sal.
Isn't it like 300 million points?
Something like that.
Ridiculous.
Something like that. So what you need to do is, first things first, when you're using a credit card, even if you are paying it off monthly, it's likely that you are overspending. And essentially, you essentially have an unlimited means available to fund your cash flow. And if you aren't paying it off monthly, it means you're incurring interest, which in turn is exceeding the benefits of the points in the first place. So I think get it out of your cash flow, set up the right budgeting structure, and start defining surplus and save for the holiday and save for these other incentives that the bank is giving you as a result of your spending, because they're just not worth it. Now we've got a question here from Trey. G'day, Trey.
Best saving methods or tips for young savers? Great question, Trey. This all comes down to back to Jackson's point in terms of paying yourself first. I've gotten into this habit a lot nowadays, and as basically in terms of saving, as soon as the day I get paid, the next day I have money come out of my main account and transferred into a different account or into my investment because I pay myself first. Even if it involves moving money from your transaction account or where you get paid into, even if it means moving it to another bank facility just to get it away from your hands, that's the best method of saving. A lot of people, what they do initially is that they get paid, they pay for everything in life, they go out, they pay their bills and whatnot, and whatever's left is pretty much their savings. This is not the right way to do it, because obviously you'll be left with a lot less than if you were to pay yourself first.
100%. Yeah, and I also did an article recently that was on news.com. We posted it up on our website. That's about how to save $9,000 in 90 days. So Trey, go check it out. I believe that anybody who commits themselves to it and follows the strategies that I put in that article has the ability to amplify their savings, get themselves on a really good start. And then once you've got that base, once you've got that money in the bank account, then it's about considering how you can continue to amplify your growth and your wealth creation to help you achieve your goals for the future. Beautiful. So that's another installment of our Ask Aureus Anything live Q&A. We hope all of you have got value from the time that we've had here. Of course, if you've got any questions, if after we go offline, please feel free to post them in the comments. those of you who are still hanging around, make sure you do opt in for our new financial year strategy session. Keep in mind that we've only got 10 that we're giving away for free. So make sure you get in quickly, and we will see you the same place, same time next week.
You will see Sam here, same place, same time.
If Sam
next
decides
week.
to turn up next week. All right, everyone. We will catch you later.
Bye, guys.